I am Mallku. I am saluting all of you from Cusco, this amazing center. Today is July 27th, 2020. And today we will be sharing part of the ancient wisdom in relation to what is announced, especially overseas, in relation to the Inka Prophecies. And today I am having this conversation with somebody who is very special in this theme and this subject, who is Juan Carlos Machicado, a writer, somebody who was doing a lot of investigations about the Andes, a publisher, author. So he's somebody who is being in the Andes, experimenting, traveling, exploring a lot of things, and of course somebody with a lot of wisdom in relation to the Andes. So, Juan Carlos, I am saluting you today, and I wish that you are in good health, in good energy, and ready to share part of your experience with all these people overseas. Hello, Juan Carlos. You are very welcome.
Hello, Michael. Michael, thank you very much for inviting me to this special meeting to share interesting ideas with everybody who's listening to us right now or viewing us in this moment. So I am ready for the comments that we are about to make about our world.
Yeah, you know that many things people they've been talking in relation to the dramatic events that were happening in our planet. And if we go a little back in the history, we will see that a few decades ago, people from all directions, they were scared because 1999, December 31st, was approaching and will be the year 2000. And many people commented that that year, that day, will be the beginning of the end of the world that as we know. And after that day, of course, everybody was confronted because everybody continued in life and doing everything that they've been doing. And because this was not enough, the new tendencies, especially with the mysticism and irresponsible teachers, they decided to propose that the end of the world, according to the Mayas, will be in 2012, December 21st, 2012. But what was dramatic in all that is that many of these teachers from overseas, they pretended to put the ideas that the Incas announced that. So, and the subject today is about Inka Prophecies. So in all your experience, in all your research, what you can tell, there is any evidence about Inka Prophecies? There is anything so far we know that you can share with us? What do you think about?
Yes. And I think it's very important to be clear with everybody that it is only when Spanish arrived or invaded this land that they started bringing a feeling of fear for everything. Since the moment they brought the idea of hell, and we were involved into that negative idea of hell, I think the main teaching here to evangelize was be careful because if you don't behave very well with the church, bad things are going to happen to you. So consequently, we have been always living with that thing inside our minds, and we have been always afraid that if we would behave in a wrong way, something negative was going to happen immediately. So consequently, these ideas of prophecies are that fear from the Western world, because we know that in the Andes, people have been always living with a positive, in a positive way, with a positive attitude towards life, you know. And every time we have been going through hard times, people have been always commenting in a negative way that it was going to be the end of the world. It happened in different times in our history. And of course, nowadays, it cannot be an exception. Many people from abroad, they would like people to disappear, I think. I think people just live so desperate, and to be honest, we have to say that this technology of the Western world have been positive, but in many ways also negative, and it had been very destructive. Many machines were damaging completely our planet that they don't know how to stop all of this. And it was just a question of greediness, you know. I want money, I want this, I want that, I am consuming. So basically, there's no stop. And consequently, when they see that they have created a mess, obviously they are trying to find excuse with prophecies. And the solution is okay, so there's nothing to do for us. It's the end of the world, you know, when actually it is not. I think it's just a question of attitude. If we start thinking in a more positive way, we can change the world. We can change things for better. That is something that many are not willing to do. I think that's the idea. What do you think, Marco?
You know, I thought that this subject about the prophecies, especially involving the Incas, that was over after 2012, when everybody continued doing their life. You know, some people proposed that it was the Mayas they were not referring that will be the end of the world. And actually, the Mayas never say anything like that. That was the Western world who invented all these kind of ideas and started to scare people. And in addition to this, the mysticism, the mystic teachers, in a very irresponsible way, pretended to sell ideas or practice or disciplines and different ways in order for them to save, to escape, to be rescued by UFOs, by whatever intervention could be in order for them to be safe. I thought that the subject about that involving the Incas that was over, but I was surprised that right now with the pandemic, the new or the modern Incas, they were announcing that that was the Inka prophecy again. That what's happening right now with the pandemic in the world, you know, it's really was announced by our ancestors. So I want to ask you if in all the research that you did, there is any record, there is any kind of transmission that we can trust, saying like that, look at that, no, the evidences in this archaeological site, in these remains, were announced that it will be a kind of a pandemic somewhere, and our ancestors, they are announcing already. Do you know if there is something like that that exists? Or again, is what you mentioned in a very funny expression are the Nostradamus of our days that are pretending to involve the Incas once again?
Yes, yes, these are just made ups all the time. Because, as I told you, I think the problem is that we live in permanent fear and we cannot find solutions to our problems, or at least that's what many people think, that there are no solutions. So, consequently, it's very easy to accuse to ancestral civilizations, probably, these ideas that these guys actually had said in the past that this year was going to happen this and this and this. Uh, like as you said, like the case of Nostradamus, you know, everybody something happens and immediately everybody connects with Nostradamus. So he said this, he said that, so then things are happening. If not Nostradamus, the Bible, yes, in the Bible is saying in the Apocalypse is that this is going to happen, and la 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 la, and obviously I think there's a big business behind this idea of putting fear in the people constantly. And the other, obviously, thing that sells a lot is that there is a great savior who's going to come to save us because we're useless. We are we are nobody. You know, it's like we would have no brains to be able to solve our problems. So we need someone external, overpowerful. And if it's not an ET from some planet, it's Jesus who's gonna come back again, or you know, a superhero, maybe Superman, Spider-Man, whatever is gonna come to help us, and that kind of position is very silly because it is stopping our positive energy and action that is inside of us. And that is something that, on the contrary, we should explore. We should actually be convinced that we are capable of making wonderful changes. And I don't know how we can convince the people. Maybe through this kind of lectures that we are giving here now, hopefully will change the mind of many people. So they have to start learning to see things more in a positive way rather than in a negative way.
You know that when all these foreigners they are pointing that our ancestors they announced prophecies, they are using some kind of descendants, especially coming from remote areas, a tribal group, the Keros tribal group. And they are trying to adjudicate that these indigenous people they were the Inca keepers, and they were announcing about these prophecies. There is anything that you know that this tribal group, which are different groups with a really small population, that they are migrating from the highlands and to the rainforest and going and back and all that, these tribal groups, are they the wisdom keepers of the Inca amazing knowledge, amazing scientific position in relation to astronomy, architecture, engineering, mechanic, chemistry, and all the subjects as possible. So do you think that there is any link with these people? Or once again, was the invention made by all these foreigners because they needed to give responsibility to someone, as you mentioned before?
Mhm. Uh, Part is true and part is not. There's a big business behind the Keros people, as we know very well. So the Keros, like many other communities in the Andes, had kept a lot of the ancestral rituals and part of the wisdom that the Incas and pre-Incas had. But it doesn't mean that they have all the answers, that they know everything, that they are the, the super duper minds of the world, that they are gonna bring us solutions, or they have mighty powers to change the world. No, no, no. I think the Keros people was marketed tremendously on that way, just to make money from them. For example, I remember that when I was in United States, when I was living in New Mexico, and New Mexico is known as one of the most popular New Age places of the United States. I remember that I was in a store, in a mystic store, and I was watching a magazine called The Drum, The Shaman's Drum. I remember very well, The Shaman's Drum. And I was just looking at the pages, and suddenly I see in a big page an announcement, and it said, "The Kairos are coming to visit the eagle." Like the prophecy of the condor and the eagle, and they are being brought. And no, three masters are being brought by the most important superior master, and that was an anthropologist, Núñez del Prado, that we know him
Okay.
well. Okay, and the session to us and to us to, and to be part of this special convention with our shamans, all you need to do is subscribe here in this telephone, and obviously when I call the to this cell phone number, the inscription was $5,000 per person. Yeah, I said $5,000. I wish I could charge that in my conferences. So basically, they these guys don't even speak English. What they were going to say over there? So only Núñez del Prado was going to be the voice of them, and he could say whatever he wanted to say. It happens many times. people who became the translators of the Kairos, they are just basically changing the words of what they are saying in order that the customer can listen what the customer wants. That's simple like that. It's so sad that these things happen, but it's part of the truth of this market, you know. So uh, I think the heroes are wonderful human beings. I've been in contact with them many times. I have them sometimes here in my house. We have shared some ideas. I met a shaman. Unfortunately, he died. He was one of these few real ones because today also the other bad thing about this marketing is that all the heroes are shamans today. They all have found that there's money behind it, and they all want to be shamans of the highest rank. So consequently, there are no farmers anymore. You know, and but it's but when you really meet a real one among them, you really understand that simplicity of life that they kept, and that love for nature that they still have, and that's all they want to share with us. Actually, they are not so complicated people. They are not into prophecies. They all just want to convince you that love this planet as you love yourself. Basically, that's it in essence, you know. So I think we are just forcing too much the figure of the Cairo around the world.
Well, it's interesting what you are sharing, and I would like to point to something which is technically a controversy because in the subject of communities, a community it's a group of people that they are residents somewhere, and they are creating the good ways to maintain in harmony their communities, and they are trying to become prosperous as well as farmers, weavers, or maintaining the unity of the family and all that. This is the base for a community. But what is being as experienced in the Chaos tribes is that they are living high in the mountains and low in the rainforest. And they are migrating all the time, going up and down, according to the weather, according to the what they could be planting on the rainforest, or returning to harvest potatoes in the mountains, etc., etc., which is the
Mm-hmm.
practice of a tribal thing. A tribal thing is the practice of a surviving, which is a lower step of a community. In a community altogether, they are ready to share. They are ready to maintain the spirit of all this in a tribe. Everything is possible. You have to survive, and it doesn't matter in the ways that you have to do, but you have to survive. So if we go back in the history in relation to our ancestors, they were not saying like that, staying for a year here and moving another year somewhere else. If not, they studied which will be the best place to stay and to create something, to create a center. And this is the case of Cusco's capital. This is the way of many of the Inca towns, villages in the Sacred Valley of the Incas, name it like that. The amazing Inca crystal city of Machu Picchu, and many other places. So, if we want to compare what our ancestors did and what these people they are doing right now, there is a huge distance. There is a tremendous separation in all that. And you know that for our ancestors, that was very important to create observatories, to create altars, to maintain their wakas and all that. And I am sure that you've been in those remote tribal groups, the carols. I am sure that you've been there. I've been there a few times, and there is not a single altar, as so far you know, in the way that our ancestors did. There is not a single observatory with the remains, the structure, the location and all that. There is nothing, technically saying. So I am reintroducing this because it's important to do a definition and to do a separation. Who is who and how foreigners, they like to take just an external little aspect and say, oh no, this is it, this is the source. And they've been naming these people as the Inca wisdom keepers. So do you think that they are the Incas wisdom keepers? Do you think that?
Well, the historic moments are very different, and the Incas had a very complex society in their time, and obviously, like any other society, they had their temples to do their ceremonies, to practice a philosophy of life. Nobody had intruded into their world, and so they could develop normally their life in that time as the great civilization that they were. So once the invasion happened and many groups had to just run away from the reservations made for the native people, uh, they changed completely their lives to a more simple way. So in the case of the Queros, basically, if you see the way how they live, and if you would like to compare with the Incas, obviously there is a huge, huge difference. So Incas would have never lived in those very basic conditions like the Queros live today. As I tell you, the only thing that you notice for certain is that they had been holding at least some meanings of life through their ceremonies. When they do some, when they drop some chicha, when they do some coca reading, when they do this kind of rituals, they are just very basic things. It's not like in the Inca time when the Spanish soldiers described the Incas doing those ceremonies. It was something apotheosic, something.
I'm very Christian.
Yeah, yeah. So consequently, uh, again, I have to keep saying the word that it is just a marketing to call them the keepers of the knowledge of the Incas. So no, no, no. They are, as I tell you, they are not the only ones. Let's just go to Huancavelica. Let's go to many other places in the high Andes, in remote areas. They are also practicing the same rituals like the Queros are doing. You go to the Amazon. There are tribes who are actually practicing still rituals from the past, not probably like in the old times, but they are still there, practicing a way of life that they have to, because for them it's a question of survival, as you were saying. Let's go to Santa Marta in Ecuador,
Colombia.
excuse me, Colombia, and there we can see today the Cogis. The Cogis, if we listen to them, they have a fantastic philosophy of life connected to nature. So I think we can learn a lot from them, but it doesn't mean that they are the last thing on earth, because we are, as I tell you, human beings with different needs, and all we need to do is just learn to listen to what this guy has to say, this other guy has to say, and then we can accumulate all that knowledge and make it useful in our lives. I think that is the challenge that we have as descendants of the Incas today. That we have a lot to give to the people actually, but at the same time we have a lot to learn at the same time from the others. And if we maintain that position of learning and teaching, I think we are going to make a progress in our planet. But if we take that arrogant position, like I am the only teacher, I am the one who has all the solutions, we are just falling in the trap of being very egocentric.
You know that at the end of the 80s, in the beginning of the 90s, when we've been in contact with some of these representatives from communities, and they've been showing some of the rituals, offerings. Mostly, many of the instruments, many of the tools that they had were strongly related to the church. the Christian cross, the Saint Church, the Vatican, and the saint here, the other saint there, and all that. And in that time, for the foreigners, that was a shock, because saying, "Oh, we are coming here to see something original, something that belongs to the land, but they are doing praise to the Holy Church and to the good Jesus and all that." And and we noticed that in the last 15, 20 years, many of these indigenous people, they've been evolving and not using as much as the Christian symbols, but introducing, sophisticated stones, quartz, amethyst, and many other tools that are coming from abroad. Are the foreigners who are bringing and giving to them, but this didn't belong to them, and they've been introducing. And of course, everybody who is a new person coming and meeting the people, and if they see that, they will think that this is what they've been doing. But this is not like that. They've been doing other things and mixing a lot of elements, and so far, you remember, of course. Right now, they are becoming a little more sophisticated or accommodating to the time, to this new time. So, and you know that here in this nation, about 90% is a Christian nation, which means that among 100 of indigenous people, you will have about 90 of them that they are Christians. So then it's been an intromission and a manipulation since long time ago already. Right now it's thanks to the presence of the visitors that they are trying to revive something which is accommodating to the modern time. Then how much of all what you see right now is original or is never being original, is always being adapted to the circumstances? There is anything that you have in your memory as pristine thing, or it's always been like that?
Well, I think the mentality of the Inca people had been always very inclusive in many things. Once, for example, the Spanish brought the crucifix and their saints, and even their beer and wine, Incas started incorporating in their rituals the beer, the wine, as later on when the Japanese came and brought sake, instead of using chicha, Incas just said, okay, so let's just have your sake, because after all, this is just what Pachamama produces as well, what Mother Earth produces. So why not? So everything is welcome because it's part of what the earth can give to us. So consequently, on that way, Incas had always that position of being very inclusive, welcoming all kinds of foreign elements into the Inca ceremony. But the most important thing in all of this is that they didn't lose the connection with the earth, which is what really matters. I think that is the most pristine thing that we can rescue from the ceremonies, because the idea is to connect yourself with the space where you live, to learn to love the place and respect the place where you live, and say thank you for everything that you get from that space. And that haven't changed. Many other things came little by little, as you said, crystals, and if the Martians will come one day, I'm sure we are going to welcome the things that they will bring from their planet. So that is not a problem. As long as they won't change the attitude of that connection with the earth, which is the spirituality that we still practice, I think everything is welcome. So that was my experience so far. I have been seeing since a kid, because my father took me in different ceremonies, because he was from a native community in Puno, the land of Yunguyo. And when he was when he was making me participate in some rituals, I remember that the things that I used to see are not happening anymore today. Things have changed a little bit, but at least the essence has been always maintained.
To welcome everything that in other lands is produced is a very good practice. Yeah, this is something that we have to be open when it's good for us. But we have as well to administrate correctly what's coming in the way of respect and the things that are not necessarily contributing for maintaining integrity and evolving for the good way. Because all these subject of prophecies were brought from abroad and were not original from here. And it's okay to receive and understand that somewhere else they are very worried and they are considering that somebody else is coming to rescue them, to save them, and not working in themselves. And you know that our ancestors' priority was fix the problems, arrange the problems. If you don't have a house, fix it. If you don't have enough water, build all the system, the hydraulic systems in order to provide what is needed. So you know that by experience that everything that was created was in order to help human being evolve. And they were welcoming others since everything was in respect. But all the subjects of prophecies are interfering with part of the history. You can accept everything, but when you interfere in part of the history, at the end, you will start doing what the Christians did when they came here, when they invade this land. They did terrible things. And by pressure, by obligation, the new descendants of our time, they are making praise to the Vatican and to the church and all that. So then we have to be careful in welcoming everything, but measuring what is going to help us. So in this same subject, you mentioned early that when you were in New Mexico, you saw in the drum magazine, the Drumming Circle magazine or something like that, an advertisement about the condor coming to visit the eagle. And then the prophecy of the condor and the eagle was part of the subject that again was proposed over there. So do you know in the records of history transmission and all that, that our ancestors, they were worried in order to meet the eagle if they were representing the condor energy, understanding that here we have eagles as well. So if you have eagles and you have condors, so there is not a need to go to look for the other because it's just there. Then, so when that appeared, do you have any information about that? When it was proposed, this thing of the condor and the eagle?
As far as I remember, I think this started during the 70s. Where, well, as tour guides, we know that we used to receive the first New Age groups.
Mhm.
And it was interesting to listen to these spiritual masters who used to come with them. And they would bring all these stories, I don't know where they were created, somewhere in the United States or in Europe, I don't know, probably more in the United States. And and when I listened these prophecies, I was saying, I never heard of that before. What are you saying? And so consequently, it became more and more like a big fashion. And then people started creating more and more prophecies, accommodating some of the old prophecies into with a new twist and make a new prophecy there and there and there. But as I tell you, mainly for marketing reasons. And unfortunately, many people believe in all of these things. So because there's a tremendous spiritual need in our planet. And if you have a society where everything is over materialistic and you are not happy with all of that, obviously you are expecting somebody to have new answers for a new change. And if you are not very honest, obviously you are going to create these stories. But if you are very honest, on the contrary, you can do something wonderful for these people, especially to give them, as I tell you, positivity, because we are all capable of doing wonderful things. But the secret, I think the main secret is that our ancestors have taken a social responsibility for a change. Today, it's difficult to convince people to have a social responsibility because we are all individuals. And if we are individuals, obviously we are very weak. One person alone cannot do anything. At least you can have the best wishes, but you need the force of many people to be able to produce changes. And I think that's what people need to understand. Start leaving away that selfishness, that egocentric way of thinking, and start being motivated that we are all human beings and we all bleed, we all eat, we all have the same needs, and consequently, we can all work together to find group solutions. So basically, these stories of the eagle and the condor for me don't make sense at all. As you said, there are eagles here too. So then, why they would make such a story that one day we'll meet the eagle if they are here too?
This is a very interesting point because it's been a few decades already, not much, but at least more than 20 years, that some people started to propose more and more this subject. And they were a kind of tour guides that they were, jumping into this idea and taking that and say, oh yeah, this is the prophecy, as was happening in the Maya land. When I was visiting Mexico for a few times and doing the connection with the Maya descendants, none of them was into the subject of the end of the world. None of them. That's being a creation, an invention by the Westerns. And after December 22nd, 2012, total silence because the world didn't disappear. But what happened? The responsibility of all these mystic teachers affected the Maya people so far that right now nobody talks about the Maya. Or are you listening every day, as was happening before December 21st, 2012, about the Maya point, the Maya factor and everything that is being created for? And as well, parallel to that was about the Inka subject. If you will be following, this practice, these rites and all that, you will be luminous being, you will be whatever, and you will be reaching the fifth dimension, or you will be ready for the UFOs to rescue you. So it's been a terrible manipulation. And probably you, as a scholar, as a professor, so probably you have to confront many of all these people that they will come into you asking, Juan Carlos, what is the real thing about that? Did that exist or not? And you were always trying to explain about then probably we have a responsibility, we have a mission to clarify. Because mostly people, they've been talking from abroad, but not from the Andes exactly. It's been from the Andes, it's been some of the mystic guides that they are just mystics, they are everything mental, emotionally is part of their subject and they accommodate to whatever. But we are doing research. We are proposing, we have books and we continue doing investigations. So there is a lot to share with this. And so in relation to the end of the world, the Incas, they were not announcing anything like that. In relation to the condor and to the eagle, as prophecy as well, as you said, that's being also invented over there. And then we have to be honest. This is what we have to do. And being honest probably will maintain integrity of what can be a transmission of the history of the Andes. And you know that there are a lot of subjects in relation to our ancestors through technology, through the good way of life and all that. So do you think that there is any kind of examples, any kind of practice, any kind of philosophy in relation to coming from our ancestors' remains, the way how they were living, to confront the situation of the pandemic that we are living right now. In which way something from the Andes could be, helpful for the people.
Well, towards a pandemic like this, I don't think so. No, I never heard something like that. Reading many chroniclers, they are very light in that kind of in that kind of information. We don't even know very well what was the reaction of the people when uh, when an earthquake happened, for example. There's not too much information about this kind of situations or phenomena. So, but if we have to actually teach people something very important from our culture, as you say, how much from our ancestral life is still kept today. I think we are doing tremendous efforts to rescue the best we can and put that on a paper, on a book, to be able to give the people serious ideas about that positive way of seeing life that our ancestors did. Uh, and if we would have to teach these things in a practical way, uh, I remember one experience. There was a group of people, a group of tourists, so interested in changing their lives because they thought that that materialistic life that they carried was overwhelming. And I remember that I decided to take them into one of these remote communities, not the Keros precisely, but one of those remote communities that we have here. And we were very lucky to see a guy sitting on a rock contemplating the landscape and being just connected with it. And obviously they wanted to take pictures of him and said, please. I said, no, 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 don't disturb him with your cameras. Don't you see that he's in contemplation? He's very happy. He's there focused on whatever he has to focus. So don't disturb him. Just watch. And they were obedient, and they were like, wow. And this guy was like an idol. He didn't move from his rock. He was so happy. And after 10 minutes, he realized that he was being watched. And he looked at us, smiled, and one of them, very funny, these are the reactions, uh, took a bill of $10 and put it in his hands. And this guy saw the bill and said, "What's this for?" and and in this remote village, money was meaningless. There was no need of that because everything was I me. I help you today, you help me tomorrow. We all cooperate with each other. So then, consequently, money was meaningless. And when he gave this answer to my group, many of them started crying because they realized, wow, so this is the real way of life. This is the real sense of life. That money is just a tool for us, that for this guy is nothing. And if we have to learn something from this experience, is that it's more important to have this moment of contemplation with nature, which is a way of trying to focus inside our lives than being just distracted with toys and things that we can just get with money and we are not happy. Well, this guy was in a total bliss, contemplating nature. So what a teaching, what an experience. It was an extraordinary experience, not only for them, even for me, because we are from this urban area. Uh, uh, we are learning a lot, but still, that guy had touched my heart just with this attitude. So I think that is the way how we can be useful to people, sharing with them these stories, uh, trying to listening to what they have to say first, to try to focus on positive thinking that they can use for their benefit.
That's important point because in this pandemic, you saw that in many parts of the world, people they were forced to organize themselves in order to share some food with the ones who were suffering more than others. And so this is a human practice anyway that everybody is preserving in their subconscious, and when is needed, of course, this will be manifest. Uh, and we wish that this kind of practice of sharing and working for the others and the others for us when is needed, as our ancestors did in a community spirit, is something that need to be preserved. And this is an example of life, and this is very welcome for sure. Right now there is a controversy, and there is a separation in opinions in relation to what is this pandemic doing in the planet, and how this came to our world, and who is behind all that. And that's true that there are people that they wanted not to have so many people in the planet. And one of the ways to make them disappear is really creating an impact through health, and this is what we are experimenting today. So do you have any clear idea about how this pandemic will evolve and affecting humanity, what we have to do in order to be over and to survive ourselves, because there is something real happened. What message you can share with the people, what ideas of a personal practice, what they can do in order to not to be into a dramatic situation every day.
Well, this experience that we are going through is teaching us uh, many important things. First, I think we are learning that we have to be very careful with this pandemic because this is a very serious thing. We have to protect ourselves when we go on the streets. We have to take all the precautions to not be affected by the pandemic. So basically, we are learning that it's important to to survive if you want to still contribute with the world somehow. Then, obviously, we are also learning that if we don't help each other, if we don't change our way of seeing life, we are not going to be successful in our planet. So obviously, many of us can help each other according our possibilities, because many of us in this situation are not economically in good conditions. In this moment, many of us are just saving with the last pences of our savings. So probably I cannot help too much right now. But if somebody comes and is hungry, at least a piece of bread can be given and is welcome. I think the challenge now is for these big corporations, for these churches who always preach love and justice. They are the ones who actually need to change completely because they have all the money, all the power structure. And if they don't change, basically their dreams are going to come true. If some of them were planning to get rid of the half of the planet, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I think the, the what we have to think from now on is that once we'll go through all this pandemic situation, are we going to continue Are we going to continue maintaining that capitalist global crazy system which is destroying our planet? Or are we going to switch of a system to find something more sustainable where all human beings can have a better life instead of keeping misery, poverty, desnutrition, So there has to be a big change in our consciousness if we really want to survive very soon. Because we know that in this moment, this monetary system is about to fall apart. You're supposed to, well, the banks supposed to show all the money that they're supposed to have, all the value in money that they're supposed to have in golden bars, and they don't have it. So all the money that they are using today is just fictional. Is the credit card and it's money that we don't see that that is not based in gold anymore. So basically, we are living in a big inflation, in a big dream right now. So this pandemic has demonstrated that this system is so fragile that it can collapse and it may collapse very soon. So then we need actually to start thinking in a new economic system based more in a human way, not in a selfish way. It's good to have. There's going to be always people who are going to have more, and others who are going to have less. It's part of life. So it's part of the duality of life, like day and night. Is something that we cannot avoid. So, but the idea is not to exploit the other to the extremes that this guy is going to die. So we have to change that attitude. As we all have to understand that if we uh, if we want to really see our children enjoying still a beautiful planet, we have to change our attitudes, but urgently. It's not like this pandemic is going to finish and I have to continue with the system and we're going to keep polluting. That seems that sometimes it's happening, but we have to keep sending the message that the real change needs to happen. I think that's what we have learned. So
This is a message that is also valid for our land, for this nation. So far that the spirit of community need to return, because even if we are in indigenous land, community as an spirit is been gone for a long time. In relation to preserve the good practice as our ancestors did, here we have also, and we have to leave the message for this nation that they have to return to what our ancestors produced, like potatoes in all these varieties, which are very good of nutrients. Quinoa, you know that right now people, they are eating more quinoa in other countries that here. Here is welcome rice, spaghetti, and all that. It's part of what you see here. Here is full of chicken factories and restaurants with all that, abandoning a good way of life as our ancestors did. So the message that you were sharing, that's also for this territory. And for all of you, our friends from the different latitudes, to receive part of these messages. And if there is anything that is coming for you, we are happy if this is touching you. We have an amazing history. We have amazing remains that our ancestors left. And thanks to all these remains, we restart connecting deeply with the meaning of those places. And this is giving more clarity about the style of life and how this can give an example for our time Then today we brought the subject in relation to prophecies because some people they've been asking for. Some people they try to give responsibility to different nations, indigenous world, and the Incas were also included there. And we're trying to clarify this because giving hope and optimism to the people that if we have to change this planet, need to start with ourselves. If we start changing and if we start being responsible in our style of life, what we eat, the daily practice we do, the conscious respirations that we do, and breathing techniques and all that. So all this will help us to be strong and to survive this confrontation, because we have something important to do. Then be there, and we hope that we will be meeting you in a near future, and hanging and embracing you all and sharing this amazing territory with amazing stories. Juan Carlos, we advanced in the time already. If you have a last message to share with the public, please say something to them.
Yes, yes. Well, I think it is just happening to my mind that if people still want to believe in prophecies, why don't we make one which can be very, very positive and nice? I think we can tell them, there's a prophecy from Pachamama recently that Mother Earth, for the ones who don't understand Pachamama, there's a new prophecy from the Andes that you should change your attitude, otherwise you will be gone. So then we'll meet one day all together in Cusco and we'll make a big family. That's the new prophecy. So I think
That
I think that's what we can do for them.
is
And
negative mostly, and this is a very good point. So yourself, be your prophecy yourself. Announce the best. The prophecy is that you have to be strong, maintaining a good health, and to be ready as the new resistance for this time, because we have a lot to do in this planet, which is our home, is our Pachamama who is embracing us, and we have to preserve for the best, not only for us, but for the new generation.
yes, and I think what we need to say at the end is to all our friends who are seeing us right now, who are watching us now, is whenever this pandemic will finish, come to Cusco, come to Peru, because this is a wonderful place to 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 motivate changes. Actually, yes, we are very lucky to live in a land where still some of those spiritual manifestations are alive. More than in other places actually that I have lived during my life. So that's why I decided to come back here to Cusco after being 10 years away from my country in different places. There are obviously other fantastic places too, full of spirituality in our planet, but this is one of them. But in the positive way, not with that in that manipulated way. So then come to Cusco, come to visit us, and we will welcome you all the time like a brother and a sister. You are all our family here.
And wherever you are, maintain the good energy. Resilience is a good motivation and the result of whatever confrontation we had. As you maintain yourself strong, preserving your health and the ones of around you, for sure will be the guarantee that the next generation is going to be there to create a better world. We have to restart being responsible how we treat our environment, nature, the animals. Myself, as a vegan person, I know from closer all this. But if you are not in that practice, at least try to be responsible in the way how you eat and how you treat the planet. As less animals we eat, the animals will offer gratitude. And like that, we will be impacting for the good for our world. And this has nothing to do with religion, mysticism. It's just humanism. It's humankind in the best way, because this is a beautiful home that our Pachamama was given to us. And we have to be the good residents to maintaining balance in harmony. So from Cusco, from the Andes, we embrace you all, wishing you an amazing week. And this is not going to be the last time that we will be together with Juan Carlos. Sure, we will be doing something else in the future. And for all of you that you will be connecting, if there is any special point that you will be to receive some ideas in relation to the Andes ancestors, we are ready to share with you. So we embrace you energetically. We salute you, wishing the Great Spirit to be guiding you in the name of Wiracocha and Pachamama. Have a beautiful evening, night, or day, wherever you are. And thank you, Juan Carlos, for being here and sharing all this with these people. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, YK. Thanks to you, YK Mallku. And thanks to everybody. Take care and keep enjoying life.